Okay, hi everyone. I'm glad to see you here. So today we are going to check how it was with your homework. So who has succeeded to accomplish it? Okay, so I will show how we can do this, how it could be solved. One of the possible solutions. There is many. There is no correct one. Okay, your homework was to read some stuff and complete switch statement exercise, yes? By the way, if you would read some articles, there would be actually almost the answer. Okay, so first one was to rewrite your existing application where based on the index we retrieve the actual day of week name. So let's open our application and check what we can do. As we remember the syntax of the switch statement, so it starts with keyword switch. After that it receives the variable based on which we will check our branch which we will execute. So don't forget to open and close your curly brackets. For Java it's very important, same as semicolon at the end of your statements. And after that we start writing our branches. We all are already informed about such statement as break, which will say to us that reaching that statement we should stop going through following cases of the switch statement. So let's quickly go through what we have written. So we pass into our switch variable, in our case index of a day, and when we match this variable to 1 we print out Monday. And after that we stop executing and exit this switch statement. But if our day index doesn't match first one, we go further. In our next case is 2. If the index match that, we print this branch. Okay, so let's add extra few cases. Yeah, don't forget to use your formatting. It will make your code more readable, but yeah, you should use it when you don't have any errors. Otherwise, it can spoil everything. And let's do some case when nothing match our searching variable. We will inform user that there is something wrong. Okay, it's also a good practice to inform user in error, give some information based on which he can later understand what was wrong. So it would be in this case useful to display for which parameter we can't find the exact day. So from previous lesson we know that we can comment out our text in order to don't execute it. Okay, so let's check what we have. So we have passed into our switch statement second day index, and walking through this switch statement we successfully reached the second case, entered, printed out the text and exited it. That's it. Any questions? Yes, sure.
Are there any shortcuts to write system out print without writing every time?
Yes, there is shortcuts. On this one it doesn't work somehow. It should be again, it depends on your IDE and on your operating system. So there looks like somehow IDE conflicts with operating system. Usually it should be salt and controlled space. But yeah, and you can actually Google template. It should be some template content as template proposals. You can configure them. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, sure.
It seems to me that if and switch are almost the same.
Yeah.
Why there are two of them? If they're almost the same except to break. Where would we use it?
Actually the break is the crucial one. So with break it looks the same, but if we will remove this, the behavior will be different, and actually it was part of your homework.
Yes, I did, but if only the break one that is different.
Could you write the second part of our homework without the switch statement? No. In elegant way? So yeah, it covers some extra functionality. So for example, when we need to execute not only one statement, but we need to cover enter somewhere and cover this one part and what goes under that part.
Oh, okay.
So it's and it's more readable. So if you will have a lot of if statements, it's kind of ugly. It's not by convenient to use a big amount of branches with if. Usually for these purposes, if you have a lot of branches, it's better to use switch statement. Okay, anything else?
Maybe it's a bit different than PT5 steps.
Okay.
I did it like a shorter version.
You put something into variable? What?
Well, I put the int week and then the number of the day, then string day, then only then switch and week, and then just case 1 day and the name of the day.
I didn't understand
Well,
from.
yeah, I'm sorry, relation.
But if the result is correct, yeah, I may check later.
Okay.
So as I have mentioned initially, there is usually in programming there is no one correct way how to implement it. It's mostly depends if your code is readable, does it satisfy the main requirements which was set up initially, and how good it's working. Okay. Who hasn't completed the second homework? Okay. It's not too much, so I will just show how it could be completed one of the way. So for this case, let's add extra few. So, and yeah, just we'll read the task once again. So the idea was to write program which will print out all month till the year end, starting from the specific month index. I will do right now this for day of week, but idea is the same. So if I will enter third day, I expect that will be printed out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that's all. So for these purposes, we actually need just skip the break statement. But we shouldn't ignore the last one. So how it will work right now? Okay, in our case, we give into switch second day of index of a day. We compare it with first one. It doesn't matter, so we go directly to the next one case. We compare it, so 2 is 2, it's the same, so we enter. And because there is no break statement, we don't exit the switch. We continue execute all following statements in other cases until we will reach the end of the switch statement. Either we'll find the break statement. In our case, we entered here, we executed this, and we reached the break statement. Yep. Okay. Any questions? Good. So let's make it more clear and let's write the program which will give to us, based on my input day index, it will print out the first days until that index. So if I enter it, for example 2, it should print out for me Tuesday and Monday. Do I need to write somewhere the task example? Good. I will create the new Slack channel. Don't open it right now because our internet could go down. So, but yeah, later you will be able to watch it. So, has everyone joined the Slack channel Lecture5? Who needs extra time? Okay, then it should be something like this. So some manipulation with code, so maybe not. So if we are on Friday, it will print out to us everything till Monday. If it's Thursday, it should print out everything since Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So, yep, something like that. Okay. Yeah, we are done with reviewing your homework. Let's summarize what we did on our previous lecture. So we went through Java primitive types, which there are, what for we may use them, so like int, double, float. So most probably you will work right now with integers and doubles. We checked allowed names for identifiers, how they should look, what the first symbols are allowed. So first character is underscore, box, and letters. We went through comments and we covered arithmetic operations like plus and some others. Maybe we covered one of important arithmetic operation like increment and decrement, which will be used in our further lectures. We covered casting, how we can change primitive type from one to another, and what we need to keep in mind while casting from the bigger variable type to smaller. We have overviewed some basics of string, how to concatenate them, and we started important topic, conditions, if statements. We are able right now to do some basic logic in our applications, not only print out something. And we looked to switch statements. As was noticed, it's some of type of if statements, but more advanced. Okay, so we will continue covering basic functionality of Java. So, and today in agenda we have to get some user input from the terminal in order to make our application more interactive. And after that we will go into the loop control flow statements like for while, do while, and cover arrays, its data structures, and we'll try to cover important technical topic like reference and value variables, but we will not go into details. just that you would be informed about some specific cases in Java, and maybe we will cover multi-dimensional arrays. Okay, user input. So running application just with hard-coded variables isn't so cool. Usually our applications should process some information, and we need somehow get this information. One of the way is user input from the terminal. Right now we will look to the, again, only one of possibility how to get it, but it's most convenient way. So we will use a special class provided by Java Scanner. Let's look at some example what we have in the right part. So let me align my presentation to the board. Yeah, looks fine. Okay, here we get some new stuff. So first of all, we see that we get some import statement. Actually, when we use something extra in our code, we should mention that we want to put something inside. It is required in order to make smaller our application. What for we need to put some extra data if we don't use it. For these purposes we use import statement, and here we specify path to the class which we are going to use. Right now we are using class which is already inside of Java. It's with this. Next one. So we are creating instance of scanner class and pass inside object which allow communicate with console. If you may notice that in order to print out something in the console we use system.out, but here we pass system.in, so it's something which get information from the console. And we pass it to scanner. Scanner is kind of wrapper which has some user-friendly methods which simplify communication with terminal. Okay, let's go to next statement. Next statement just print out some information to console, like we ask user to enter his age. And after that we trying to get information from the user. We wait until he will paste data into the console. Until user here will not press nothing on his, will not press enter, the program will not go further. So, and if the input was received from the user, we trying to cast it to integer type, and if it succeeds we will get this value in variable age, and after that we can print it out. I have mentioned that it will try to cast the user input to specific type. So if, for example, I will enter string, but I will some text, but I will expect from the computer to get integer, it will fail. So yeah, this scanner class provides to us different data fetching modes. So for float, for double, for line is next line means to get string. And some extra information is not important for now, but you may, for example, check that inserted information by user was possible to convert to int. So if it was possible to convert, we can do some information and get this information. So let's see how it works.
Can you send us presentation?
Yeah, sure. For now, I will create a new project which will match the current lecture. Okay. So what we do, we define the type of our variable. For in our case, it is scanner, and we specify the name of this variable. Let's say it's again scanner, and we allocate. We are creating new object of type scanner. Don't be afraid. So right now we will just type new keyword new, which actually allocate memory in space in memory for this object. And we pass inside system.in variable. For now we have Eclipse error.
Import this command, no?
Yeah, so right now IDE tells to us that there is something wrong, and it says that scanner cannot be resolved as a type because we haven't imported it. One way how we can do this, it's manually write import path, but also we can utilize functionality of IDE and select import. For in this way, important to select the right one class from the right package. In our case, it's Java util. So yeah. And after that, we will ask for user input to make it more interactive. User should understand what we want from him. So let's ask him what is your name, and after that we are going to receive information from the user. We will ask for the next line, which is supposed to us to return a string. So So if username will be entered, we will get it in our variable. So, and after that, let's print it out. Okay, should be something like that. Okay, and when we run, we may see that in terminal we get our first statement, and right now we may enter something and press enter, and we got the output with information which we have sent to terminal. So yep, it's the basic. Any questions? Let's see what will be if we will pass their integer. If we'll try to fetch integer, and we'll enter some different user inputs. So at first let's put correct number, make sure that it works. It works. And run it again and enter some string. We got exception because the scanner wasn't able to convert the user input of type string to int, so it's logical. Yeah.
Why the scanner is in orange?
In good practice, we need to close the resource which we what we have opened. But for simplicity, I have skipped this.
Okay.
So usually you open some box and you left it. So in good way you need to close it. So in Java mainly it will leak to the memory leak. So yeah. Any other questions? Good. So some task to play around it. We already did the first one. So, and let's do few others. So write an application that print out whether it's positive or negative floating value entered to the console. So if I enter it 31.1, I expect that output will be something 31.1 is positive. And if I will enter -2, it will print out -2 is negative. And another one task will be, so yeah, make your previous task more interactive, so that user would ask you to for the name of the day based on day index. Any questions? Okay, good.
I'm sorry, if the program shows me some kind of error to the system.in, I don't know why.
Okay,
Error version 766, something like that.
okay. I will
Could
look.
you show once again, yes, this example, the previous one?
Sorry?
Could you show once again this previous example, because I also had the mistake, I cannot understand why.
Okay, I will send it into the channel.
It's fixed, yes, it was just mistake, so.
Okay, try to apply formatting. Control Shift F.
I will do a bit.
No, no, no. Format your code. Make it ident. Control Shift F. Yeah, and it will move the
Okay.
inside part of code. Copy paste.
No, there was a dot at the end of in, and that was not the
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Another thing what I have mentioned. Try to align your code. So each block should be aligned in the same way. So right now you may see that int somehow is in that part. Better don't select on it and press Control Shift F. One line. Okay.
Comment all this.
Control and slash.
Okay. Could you explain please once again this first task about this positive and negative?
Yeah, one moment. I want to. Okay, I have noticed that you don't align your code so that it would be readable and in the right way. So most of you have something like that. So maybe it's too heavy, but usually you don't follow the ident of your code. So the right idea is to put everything, every block of code one step further to the right. So when we start something, some branch of if, some branch of switch, inside parse should be moved to the right. So right now we are in main method, so it should be that you start writing not here and not here, but you start writing more to the right. So, and we do this, we move it, okay. And here again we have some part of code which starts inside of if statement. Write it right under the if, but again it's new part of the code and we should align it. So because if there will be a lot of code logic inside, it will be hard to understand if everything will be like this. You couldn't understand, okay, does this part relates to the main logic or only to some branch of if statements? So for this, please align your code, and for simple way use Ctrl Shift F. Yes, some of you had a question.
Yeah, we still do not understand the task.
Okay. So if the entered value is positive, what is positive? Positive what is bigger than 0. Let's assume that 0 is also positive for simplicity. So if it's 0 and greater than 0, we should print out positive. But if it's negative,
The word positive or what?
okay, I will add some extra information. But if the input is -2, okay, user input. Does anyone need assistance with the first one? Okay. Okay, at first we need to initialize our scanner. I just copy from previous example. We do import of this class, and after that we will ask user for some number. And after that we will wait for input from the user. Which type we need? Who knows? Which type we need to get from the user input? Line, integer? So, but later you need to compare the value with, do some arithmetic operation, sorry, not arithmetic, but comparison operation on it. You can't do it with string. So string will not work. So, but this value should handle decimals. Which types handle that? And? Okay. So yeah, we will use double. Okay, let's check that we at least can read this value from the user. Okay, it asks me something. Okay, it prints out. Good. Now let's do some logic, because we need to do different output based on user input. Yeah? So what we should do? Okay, if input is less than 0, then what?
Less than 0, negative. Less than 0.
So negative or positive?
Positive.
Less than
No.
0 is
Ah,
negative.
less than negative.
Okay. Okay, let's run what we have. Nothing happens. What we miss? Sorry?
Else,
Okay, and what we need to write there?
else if input
Else
plus
the system outprint input plus is positive.
Okay. It's positive. Okay, -4 is negative. Yep. Is it clear how to work with scanner? How to get input? Good.
I have a question. I'm not really, I don't really understand the line where you write double input equals, what's the scanner dot next double?
Okay. So the scanner is object which has some behavior. He can do something. He can get information from something and provide it to you. Right now we have executed on it method which will next double, which will at first wait for the input in the console, and after that it will try to convert that input into double type, and after that only it will return the value and assign it to input variable.
But if we were to write float, then would you write next float?
Next to the input?
Like where you wrote scanner dot next double, would you write scanner dot next float?
I'm not sure that it has float method. Yeah, it has. It has done. Yeah, but again, I don't need to. I don't need to change the variable type to float, because float can easily get inside to the double, because if you remember our previous lecture, that float has 32-bit size but double 64, and it could be casted easily. But if we would have double, it would ask us to do explicit casting to type. And again, in this way, if we would enter too big value, which couldn't get inside of 32-bit, it would cut some part and we would get some incorrect value. So it's again up to the user to do this explicit casting. Okay, do you need any other assistance? Has everyone completed the second task? Who hasn't completed? Okay. So feel free to ask your neighbors for assistance. But for now, let's take. No, it's okay. who is waiting for others may play around with has next and check how it works. So just another few minutes, and after that we will see what we can do with our previous example. Okay, so I assume you are done with this task?
No.
No?
No.
Do you need some assistance?
I don't know yet.
Okay, who else needs some assistance? Uh, what exactly stops you?
Lack of knowledge.
Who haven't? Okay, have you tried? Sorry? Okay. Have you tried?
I tried, but at work, and I didn't have administration rights.
Sorry?
No. Okay.
It's in progress.
Yes, it's in progress. Yes.
Let me know when you
Okay. I expect I will be
You will need it in order to practice.
I
It'll be more than you.
I know.
Any expected?
No, I don't know. No, I know it's not right, but
Okay, let's do format.
Mhm.
Format. Press control shift. It will be easy to do. Okay, it doesn't work because it has translation error.
So it should just work like that.
Let me hold on. So let's check that every curly brackets are closed. So you will notice when I click T1, it highlights the number one. So here is some mess.
I know.
So what is this?
I don't know. I got really confused with all the
Okay.
probably my computer on this one.
Do you have let's I haven't sent that.
This is Lecture5 maybe.
No. No, we have it here. So this one.
Yes, not
We can have actually only one else statement. Else after else we need else have else in. So what else? They isn't declared, so you don't have it. So you have the index, but you don't have the index. So I didn't change it. But now let's just say the file name should be same as the file. So let's name save of okay. Right. It works. So try to initialize this scan and get some. Sure. And try to answer that.
Okay, it looks like it's warm. Yeah, right?
Sorry?
Okay, now it's warm, right? I think the tool is right.
Let's format the code. Format.
Control Shift, no, Alt.
Control Shift. Why not? Yes.
Okay.
Now it's more clear. At least no red signs. It's blue
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah. And now I have to save again? Oh, no. Okay, number.
You can
No,
use
no.
Control Z.
Green. Okay. What happens if I do, for example, 5?
There was, it's asked to save before launching.
No,
because
don't.
you just
And
if you want to run it again,
yeah,
you need to
run again. And then I say okay.
Yeah, it asks save file and run.
Mhm.
There was
Okay,
an
and if I put 4, for example,
yeah. Okay. So show how it was working. So
because it doesn't check that there are only 3, it has to check somewhere that if the number is not 1 and not 2 and not 3,
yeah.
then
Yeah, because we check only in input we have this value 4. So we compare with 1. Is 4 equals 1?
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
1, not 2, and not 3.
Yeah. And it's all we don't check. So in order to give any output or unhandled or other cases, we can use else statement.
And how to do it?
So at the end, at the the last.
And
So check where is you are trying to write inside of some block.
this, no, it's not right? Then we write out here.
Yes.
And else again, right?
Yes. Else. But without if, just else.
Else. But we have to, no, else.
Open curly brackets and close them to be good practice.
Like this?
Yes. And now right inside of them, move cursor inside. Yeah, you can use your arrow.
Okay.
And do what you want.
System out brings, for example, wrong number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any system?
No, I did it like this. I mean, I hadn't put all the days, but
Okay. So just remind, you may try to handle, for example, strings and integer in one output. So let's say if user has entered string, just print out the string. But if user has printed the number, let's print out the number of the week which represents. So for this you need to use this method has next int, has next line. I will just assist to others while they are trying to read computer. Okay. Everything compatible? And if remove everything and start from the scratch. Okay. Any you have what? So what is you had compare with that. Is it equal with 2? Yes, it's equal. And we enter this block and we continue to execute all following statements without comparison to the case. We will do this until we will exit switch statement or we will find the bridge statement. So in this case, we will execute this and here we get the bridge. And if you remove them, then we will exit that. Yeah.
We have a question
Sure.
about the beginning. I just copied from our previous stuff this part, yes? But what is the logic behind
explain one more time what is the logic behind the scanner. This one line. So more detailedly we will go over this during the objects and classes, but for now what you need to understand that scanner is
The scanner, this is the name of the command or what it is?
scanner is pre-built part of functionality which we can use. So there is some logic, there is some code which communicate with input source, so input from the terminal in this case. So it's process information which we put into terminal and provide it to us in valid format. So for us it's important to get the input as a string and as some number. So what is done with method next int, for example. So again, under the hood there is some pre-built functions which retrieve information from terminal, and in specific cases, in our cases when enter is pressed, it tries to convert this information into expected format. And later here, when information was retrieved, it is assigned to the value. Okay, let's have a time break before we will start the next topic. Loop control flow, it's quite big and also important. So, yeah, sure.
And just see if it's the way I can do it. So I did it like this with a straight line.
Yeah, it's okay. It works fine. Again, you don't forget to format it because this everything is one block, of course. So it's under the one block is located. So integer and string and everything else should be aligned. So no, they just should be aligned.
Okay.
Where you have copied this.
I didn't, I just, well, I googled it, but I didn't copy.
Okay.
But is it wrong to just check out other ways to do it?
No, as I have mentioned, usually in programming there is no one way how to implement it. So
So it's not wrong. I did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
homework, so that's
but the second part,
the second part is not.
yeah, yeah,
Still works?
yes, yes.
Has next integer, how does it work? Where do you put it in?
So if I have has integer but enter in the console string and press enter, it will write an error because it will convert text to an integer. But in this case, we may need to check what the input was. So and we for these cases use if statement where we pass this has next in. So and if we have passed string and press enter, this statement will return false and statement will not execute. Then we may retrieve, we understand, okay, it's not an integer, then it's something else, it's some map, and let's retrieve it as a line. So if it's not, if has next integer doesn't return to us true, we may print it out as it's text. Have I answered?
I'll try to do it.
Okay. Uh, okay, I have created a vote inside the Slack. There is question about how confident you feel yourself about already past material. So please everyone vote for this. So
It's only two options.
3.
Oh, okay.
So you feel confident yourself? Not fully, and it could be better. Okay, we are waiting for another one, another 2 person. So here is 17. But in chat we have 20. Sorry? 2 I missed, yeah? Then it should be 18.
Who is hiding?
Have you voted? Sorry.
Yes, I have.
Okay, so I just want to reorganize you a bit for the further lessons that if someone is sitting alone and don't feel himself quite confident, so probably it would be better if you will sit in pairs. So where we have 2 students in one table who feel them confident. So raise your hand who don't feel them confident enough. Okay, I just would like that this no not together,
And
but
then 2 persons
no
will feel confident.
not together, but
With someone.
change your places with someone who feels confident. So maybe on next lesson some of you can switch your place and you with them can
Okay.
change your
With
places.
smoke.
So just at the end of lesson clean your Firefox if there is Facebook and you don't want that someone look inside. So yeah, so at next lesson change your places so that you can ask your colleague. Okay, good. So, any other questions where you may need my assistance? Some clarification? Okay, good. Then we are switching to another topic. Flow control loops. So usually we need to have some application which will process some data many times, and one of the way how to handle this is to use some loop where we will enter inside some logic and calculate it. So it could be, for example, we need to multiple times get user input from outside. So right now you may notice that we may ask user only once, but if we may need to ask something from him several times, so for example, if you want to do some calculator, for example, we need input multiple times from him, and we may do this in a loop. So there is three types of loops. It's while loop, for loop, and do while. So what's the difference between while and do while? While will at first execute some condition, and then it will try, if conditions succeed, it will execute the statement which is inside. But do while loop will at first do statement and only then check does condition satisfy or not. Loop 4 is quite similar to while. We will take these into details a bit later, so or actually right now. So the syntax looks something like that. So what I have mentioned, so this statement will be executed only if condition satisfies criteria. And in this case, we will execute this statement at least first time, and later we will do this only if again condition satisfies. This condition could be changed based on our statement, for example. Okay, the basic for loop. What we have? Initially we have some data, and based on which we will do evaluation of our condition. For loop usually is used with checking the based on amount of data which should be processed. So we will, in this case, we will print out the statement 5 times. So how it works? We initialize the first variable and define it as 1. After that, we check condition. Does 1 less or equal than 5? If it's true, the statement will be executed. And at the end of this statement, when it's done, will be executed for third part of for loop. In third part, right now is mentioned that we will increase by 1 our variable. So at the end, it will be 2. And we start all again. So we don't initialize our variable anymore. We just go directly to condition. We check does 2 equal to 5, does 2 less or equal to 5, and we execute it again because it satisfies criteria. And we again increase the value by 1. It's defined by third part. And we do such loop until e variable will not become greater than 5. So let's play around. So again, we will get some user input, and based on this input we will do this iteration, the amount of them. So we start with for loop. First part, as was mentioned, is initialization of the variable. Second goes the condition statement. Until it satisfies, we will execute the body of this loop. We will do this iteration until we reach the input of user. And as third part, we do incrementing of our initialized variable. Okay, I want that it would be repeated for 5 times. And what we get, so we get this statement printed out, executed 5 times. Again, the index is 0 based, therefore it was started from the 0. If we need to have exactly starting from the 1, we may change our initialized variable value and change a bit condition. So it should be in such way it will be executed only 4 times. If still I have entered 5, because we started not from 0 but from 1. Okay, here it is. We may change the way how we will proceed the loop. We may decrease the, for example, we will not increase but decrease the value of our variable, and so go not up but to the from the biggest value to the smallest. So what we do, we assign the user input, user entered value to our iteration value, and we will run this loop until that value will be greater than 0. Each time it will decrease. So first time it will be 10, after that it will become 9, and so on. So Okay, but most usual case will be when we will increase our iteration value. Any questions? So like that we have for loop. Let's go to the while loop condition. So the idea is the same as for loop. We have some condition until which we are executing it, but incrementing of value we need to handle ourselves. Let's create new class which will represent our example with while loop. So we do initialization of our variable outside of this statement. Here we will write condition. And here goes our statement. If I will run it without incrementing I variable, I will have infinite loop. This statement will be printed every time. So keep in mind that. So you may got some infinite loop, which may cause some stack overflow, so memory leaks. So we need to do incrementing of this variable. Okay. And let's take a look at the third loop. It is do while. I have prepared some example. Let's take some real example when we need to wait to get some user input in some loop, so many times, multiple times. And for these purposes we need at first to handle. First time we every time need to get input from user. For these purposes will work do while. So what we have here, we start the scanner which will read the value from the terminal. We initialize the value, default value will be 0, and we ask user to enter some number. and when it's entered, we assign it to our variable, and we will do this loop until user will not enter 5. It could be more complex example. For example, continue application work until user will not type in quit, for example. But inside will be some logic. Let's see how it will work. Okay, I entered 2. It still asks me to enter value because I entered 2. We do condition evaluation. It's returned to me true because 2 not equal to 5. It's satisfied, and we start again. Yeah, application has finished. It worked. So as you have noticed, here we haven't did any incrementing of our variable, so we just waited until our condition would be satisfied. If we wouldn't have the while function, we would need to do something like that. At first, so the criteria would be, so wait for the user input while it will be 5 until we would need to duplicate at first some of our code. So we would need to write handling user input here and later inside of loop. So it's kind of bad practice. So better write it once. So in this case, but the logic is the same. So we will application will work until the user will enter a needed value. And again, its requirements could be different, but implementation and how you handle it could be different. So right now we are here. We are waiting for user input value. We press 2, and we are now located inside of our loop. And in order to exit it, we may need to satisfy the condition which we have. So yeah, we have exited the application. Basically, it is. Any questions?
Can you send us file with what you did in there?
This one, yeah?
Yes.
Would it be okay just to like say any value for what it was for value? Like first you first like check like just to say like each value is like 10, anything, just not 5 in the beginning. Just to give
in
any
this
value.
in this particular case, yes, it would be okay because this value isn't processed inside, but there could be some logic inside of loop which may require the value of this. Okay, then let's go further. We are going to next loop control statements, which allow to us, for example, skip some logic, like exit from the loop. So in this case, the break will, when our application has reached the break statement, it will exit from current loop. But if we will have application will reach continue, it will just skip logic which is from the continue and until the end of the loop. We will take it closer. Okay, so let's make another example for break statement. Let's create simple for loop which will loop from 1 to 10. Let's start from 1 and works for now. And for example, we want to stop executing our loop logic when we, for example, have found some value which we were searching. Let's assume we have amount of data and we iterate over this data, and when we have found the needed data, we don't need to go over all data. We may stop work, we may save the computer power and so on. So for this case, we do some abstraction. Let's assume we are looking for the value number 5. So if our iteration is 5th, we will exit the loop. So let's see what we will get. So we went over the loop 5 times, and on 5th time we entered our condition block where we got the break statement, and which told to us just stop the loop cycle and continue the main flow. yeah, here we entered. We did four loops. We 4 times have reached this statement, executed it, and on fifth we reached the break. We exited, and our application has continued the usual flow. Yes.
Can you remind me, please, why did we write 2 classes at the end of R?
It is incremented operation. It increment the value of this variable by 1 each time when this statement is executed. So let's create, I will share this example at first with you, and we'll do some explanation. Okay, so we have created a variable, its value is 0. After that, we say do increment of this value. We can write it a bit different. It's actually simplification of something like that. It is the same operation. It's just more simpler and take less space, but because it's required quite often doing this loop operation, it was introduced. So after that we get value incremented by 1, and here we get the same. Let's see. But there is one important thing what you need to take into account. If I will do something like that, I will do at moment when this operation is reached, the value will not be incremented. It will be incremented later. So so we have 0. Let's do another one. We have 0 value, we just print it out, it will be 0, and here it also will be 0 because value will be incremented only on next step. So yeah, if you need the value to be executed right at that moment, we can do incrementing before. So we will not need this right now, but there is such possibility, so keep in mind this. Okay, any question regarding the break statement? So far so good. Okay, then let's go to continue statement. We are creating new class in order to show some examples. We will copy some basic functionality, but you may type again for loop, which goes from 0 to 10. And here, for example, we just want to skip some logic. Let's say if we are on some odd numbers, we don't need to process them and do any operation. So process only even. By the way, it looks like your task. Yeah, it will be your task. So let's assume we don't want to process some specific values. Okay, so what we have here? Here again, application hour starts. We loop 10 times and we print out, do some operation on each iteration. But if this iteration equals the 5th, we ignore all further activities. What will be after the continue statement. So if you will notice, so the 5th iteration is skipped. So because we explicitly have said that continue work, but for this loops operation we ignore all what is further. So but again we skipped that part, but at the end of for loop we still have to increment our variable. So it is the logic behind. Any questions? We may specify that we want to skip also value which equals 6, for example. It is logical R operator. We have went through it on previous lecture, just to remind you. Also, we can write that we may skip everything what is greater or equal to 6. It's almost equal to break statement if, for example, we would have something on 6 So these two statements looks identical, but here we will exit this loop on 6th iteration and will not try to do any evaluation. But here we will still try to do evaluation. So So you may see that there still are 5 iterations which has reached this step but has stopped evaluation further part of the loop block. But if we will do the same here, you may notice that we entered only once and exited. So these statements and if conditions allow to us play around our application.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
If you make something comment, how can you undo it? Like,
Okay. In order to comment, I need to select the lines and press Ctrl / and in order to uncomment, I do the same. Okay, any questions? Good. Don't forget to format your code. It should be your habit to keep it structured. Okay, if here we are done, let's start some exercises on loop control. So first one, we have sequence of numbers from 1 to 10 and we need to print out only odd numbers. So in our case sequence will be the from 1 to 10. So and you need to print out only that which divided by 2 without reminder. For this purpose you may need to take a look on arithmetic operations. Modulus operation. Okay, next task will be print only even numbers but using while loop. What else? Write the program which asks user input and do this until user will enter 0. And another example, it's more complex, to write a program which will display pattern like you see inside. So if user has entered at 6, that we should print it out each number same amount as it represents. So 2 we print 2 times, 7 we print out 7 times. You will need to use loop inside loop. It's kinda advanced task for them who will complete previous one. You may ask me for details if you will need. Any questions? Okay.
Which doesn't have this arithmetic?
Previous one. It's called modulus. It's that one. Okay, who gets the idea how modulus works? Does others need any explanation? I will try to dig. Who needs? Okay, so if we don't know how it works, let's check. So we are creating new class, loop task creating. We are creating some. Oops. We initialize our variable, which will start from 0. We are checking that it will be less than 10, so we need 10 numbers, and we will do each iteration incrementation by 1. And let's print out what we will get. 6.
Why we cannot just switch on the second number?
You may try.
Don't check it again.
How you will do this? Each second?
No, I'm just thinking
So
to increase it by 2. Yeah.
it's solution. You may try.
No, we can't. Just up is possible.
It will satisfy criteria. I haven't expected that you will do it like that, but in this context it will work until I will not define, for example, initial value from which we will start counting. For example, how we usually check that value is odd. So we can divide by 2 and we will not get any reminder. So 2 dividing by 2 is 1 and we don't have any reminder. It works fine. 3 dividing by 2 will bring to us some reminder. So the idea is to check that reminder is 0 in our case.
But in this case, we have to have odd numbers. So with a reminder, even number doesn't have a reminder.
Let's check. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe my English not so good as your. Something wrong. Okay, let's see translator. Okay, what else we have? It's okay. Then we will change the logic of our application. We will see that value has reminder. So for us, it just switch the condition with logical not. So and let's see what it will print out for us. What we see that executing modular operation on 1 we get some reminder. So we tried 1 divide by 2 and we didn't succeed. what we can get from that one. If reminder is 0, then we will, let's assume, print it out. And it will be even number. Am I correct? Will it be even number if it doesn't have any reminder? Good. I will not write anything else. You need to check it out. So, can you figure out right now how to make a homework? Not homework, but exercise related to loops. Yeah. Ну там перенести println из if
How do you do this with continue? Because it said to use the continue.
It's a question to you how you would like to do this.
It's function 4. Right?
Sorry?
It's function 4 makes this continuous.
Yes. Continuous statement is kind of additional, but you just need to understand how to apply it. Right now it's quite simple task.
Continue gadījumā vienkārši sprintu ir jāņem ārā no lūpa un jāgriež otrādāk nosacījums. Sanāk, nosacījums, piemēram, ja tas skaitlis ir pāri, tad mēs izlaidam un ejam augšā, ja viņš ir nepāri, tad mēs šajā ifā iekšā ir continue. Jo tas continue viņš pārtrauc un liek atkal lekt uz augšu. Sanāk, tā prītēšana nav vienkārši tā, prītēšanas nevar 7000 varianti.
Я просто показал, я не решал задание, я показал просто как работает модулер. В данном случае он не обязательно. Ну, задачи можно решить разными путями. Да. печатаем мы вне блока проверки четное, нечетное число, где мы проверяем, опять же, как мы проверяем, либо проверяем остаток на 0, либо не на 0, мы скипаем, используем continue. Да. Who need any assistance?
I don't know how to do that. Continue.
So let's just move out printing of each row out of the if statement. So let's print the current number each time. So right now it will be printed when this condition is satisfied, but let's print it every time. Move print functionality below of if condition. Something like that. Yeah. Now it will be printed each time, and it will print it every time. So, but we want to print only odd numbers. So, and when we have checked that it's odd number, no, that's a different. When we check that it's even number, we don't need to print it out. So it's appearing that when it's if number, it's have a minus. So we need to save to this application to skip further loop statement execution, which keywords can help to do this. We have went through only Greek and continue. Let's try. Try to write it first Greek and after continue and see what will happen. Yeah, yeah. No, just first one. Together one after another, they usually not use. Run the application, see what we will get. Okay. What we get? We have printed out only one number. So looks like when it was one. Let's add some debug information before we can print out like inside the condition. Just for yourself, to the you get the idea how application is. And some print out information. found like inside if state using system out print line functionality. And some information which will indicate for you that you are inside of this condition. Like just right inside. In condition. Yeah, it's also okay. Just run. Yeah, no error. So what it was, we get, we have number one, we haven't entered inside because it wasn't printed out. At first was printed just number one. The value was increased by 2, and we started again. We checked it. Does it satisfy the error? Does it divides by 2 without reminder? It's true. It was in condition, and after that it stops working correctly. We don't get any output. So what it means that print statement doesn't work well. It went out from the folder. So let's remove it to change it. Yeah.
How to say if it's not real?
It's not real.
No.
How to say computer?
Yeah.
We can use exclamation mark and equals.
Yeah, like this.
One equal. We have roughly covered this, but yes. So
But it's still not right. Some place. Not,
if
not
what if
if it's not
or you
zero.
don't have any formatting, where is formatting of the code? So at first you should have some moving on at first, right? What it has syntax error on top of statement expected, but
This.
yeah. But
Anyway,
no. Undo operation. Let's comment out it and format to make it more. Can I check the mouse? We just need to deal with correlate brackets here. If you put your mouse on open correlate brackets, it will highlight to you that code one. Yeah?
okay. Yeah. It should be somewhere here.
Here
Not here.
okay, here while it's here. What we have? Main application closes. This one closes. And what we have this one?
Correct.
Yes.
I don't think.
Yes, we don't need it. So it's with formatting. Okay, it's more obviously done, yeah? Okay, let's add some logic. No, you don't have to execute. Okay. And what we have here? Okay. Yeah, can we switch? What was the next task? Okay. Can you rewrite it to while loop and print out only even numbers?
We will see if I can.
Yes. Просто принтер будет работать. Who still is fighting with first one? Okay. Who has finished second one? Okay. No. Ну, как сказать. Все должно работать. Наверное. Окей. Странно, что после сразу с первого понял. Так, давай автоматизируем. Ctrl-Shift-F. Ладно. Можно? Вот. Что? Да. Ну, я, наверное, да. Попытаюсь объяснить расположение элементов, потому что я это не затрагивал. Да, что не так? Я думал, вроде бы нужен. Ведь инструмент для тобой случай. Да. Sorry? Какой? Так, давай берем printout, приекшката итерация, он просто посильнее. Так, здесь asymmetric experiment. Ну, плохо здесь RCS. Так, я większy sponsor człowieka. Формату. Изберем формату. Ja, тикай леве по Ctrl-Shift, Ctrl-Shift. Его как выбрал, как дали тикать его. Окей, тогда давай Vegas именно создавал следующий результат, который W модула операции. Ну, like operate як істрати з консоли. Я Тенес результату і модули по RDE. Я. Yeah, 10 o'clock, yeah.
Till 4.
Yes. We will have some time break, I don't know how long, 45, 30 minutes.
Close to lunch.
Yeah. I don't know where it is. Good canteen.
Check that.
Yes.
Ну, то серйозно, тоді немає
So,
роботи.
yeah, те яблук каву с сакмом вейгам. Там, ми ударник не коронизма, тобто, яка без яблука, є центром, інші є самої,
Нет, это он добавил, это он сказал. Просто он скажет, нам надо написать, что это вообще слава это делать?
Ну, это надо было делать сваю, да. Нет, это надо было делать сваю из
Грибом принтед.
Надо просто написать, чтобы он не добавлял. Мне кажется, что вот это добавляет. Да, но это добавляет на следующий ход. Ну, нормально. Ну, можно
Mums jāskīpo. Okei, kā mēs varam atpazīt tādu? Viņa ir atpazīt.
Ну, tu zini to?
Jā, nāmula.
Давай.
Jā.
Какой там пример?
Там уже форм нет, у вас
Šajā gadījumā mēs teiksim, ka mums
там нужно
jāskīpo
парня.
pārējo loģisku ciklu. Izskats būs pēc
У меня
cikla. Nu, mēs varam izmantot. Un mēs zinām, likt continue and break. Break gadījumā mēs pilnīgi izmantot, tas mums nedara. Bet continue mums palīdzēs noskīpot.
Можно покажи отдельно.
Jā, mēs atveram. Un izskats būs zemes tālāk, iekļūt. Jā.
Ну тогда это не то.
по-моему,
Ну как, пока, вот.
Вот, я тоже пока.
И string.
И
Пока.
разделяется
Типа,
на
И если этот хвост
Слово
не
«раз».
то печатает, и потом
это
добавить.
наоборот.
Шито.
Это что значит? Ну это не важно, ладно.
Отдано, да?
Да. Печатно. Но чего-то не хватает.
Чего-то не хватает.
Just continuation раз.
Nичего, ноль вообще не
Тут
хватает.
nav vienāds ar nulli. Reminders, jā?
Если не равен, потому что он начинает с нуля, а ноль, ну то есть нету хвоста, поэтому очень часто, если сделать здесь еще одну равнатика, что равен, тогда там будет первый ноль, и все, дальше
Я так тоже сделала.
Mēs varam dabūt.
Нет, нет, не так,
Mēs
это
varam
неправильно.
dabūt vai nu
Здесь,
0 vai nu 1.
меньше зера.
Jā.
А
Un
если
mēs
вот
varam
сюда,
salīdzināt vai nu.
здесь добавить, что 2 равно 0, что он равен.
Rezultāts būs.
Может, надо
Что
начать
нет
с единицы
хвоста.
просто.
Или начать с единицы, вот
Да,
это такой
да.
сложный надо убрать.
Нет, это не равно нулю, это правильно.
Это правильно было сверху
Ну
поставить.
хорошо, тогда здесь
Вот.
надо единицу.
Видим унуси.
Начинается с единицы, да?
Un jā.
И думаешь, да.
Какая?
Нет, нет, нет.
Ладно, все, запрыгала, да.
Вот, и все, но он дальше не идет. Можно,
Можно?
пожалуйста, можно, пожалуйста.
We can do it.
У нас чего-то не хватает.
Something
Что
we
мы
need
дальше?
to-
Пошло.
We started from, okay, no, let's start from 0.
Ну,
While
потому
this
что
is
так,
less than
ну, там было
15.
задание, где четное надо.
А какая разница, начинать может с чего
Ну
хочешь.
хорошо, ну потому что он тогда соединит.
Okay, and then we add next figure, yes? Here, can we add it here or not? Or recount? Ну давайте. Вы же говорили, что можно здесь добавить.
Но он вас немного запутает, потому что он выглядит
Я пробовала дальше добавить.
Хорошо,
Ну,
но
пока
можно
синюю
добавить
поставить,
не
не
Потом
буду
надо
делать
это
дальше.
вывести плюс один в другое место.
Я
вообще.
вставила.
Не, ну можно сделать тогда вот так, наверное, как он
Нет,
написался. И плюс.
Нет, он уже выведет и потом.
Так? Нет? Так нельзя?
Можно, сейчас подожди, я что
Мы хотим, чтобы он
Он нам
работал.
выводит первое, то есть он проверяет первое число, потом мы тогда
Вот
единицу вводим,
сделали.
и все, и дальше не идет цикл.
Мы integer поставили 1. И он нам вывел только единицу.
Ну хорошо, а в каком случае вы увеличиваете это значение? Каждый раз или в определенности?
Ну,
Ну
получается,
как, пока, не
каждый раз?
пока мы не дойдем до 15, да.
Форматируем наш код. Чтобы вот всё понятно. Ну вот то, что я вижу, например, мы выделим его и вместе только в определенном случае, когда вот это будет нет, когда оно у нас подушка, когда оно у нас...
Тогда мы можем его поставить перед проверкой, да?
Может,
Нет, нам, наверное, надо закрыть цикл. Так, да? Такой две скобочкой, нет?
Никто не
Он уже
знает.
это не вижу,
Нет?
он вылез.
Нет. И после него... Я ничего.
Кстати, клавиатурой пользоваться, там просто
Ну,
другое.
не
Мышку
поможет,
можно
да?
вот
Это не поможет.
убрать и форматировать.
Я только что сделала.
Хорошо. Что-то вылезло.
7. Так подожди, мы начали с нуля, тут 7. А где мы?
Догоняла сверху.
А, точно.
Спасибо.
Да. Его надо было добавлять не сразу, а каждое, а не только то, которое печатает.
Okay, homework will be sent in Slack.